Welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer. You know, there's a difference between people who run for power and those who run with purpose. My next guest is a man who has stepped forward to serve in one of Michigan's most competitive and closely watched districts, the 11th Congressional District. He's not a career politician. He's a citizen stepping up at a time when America desperately needs bold, common sense leadership. You've probably seen the headlines. Michigan families are being crushed by inflation. Schools are underperforming. Our borders were wide open, and our trust in Washington, D.C. has hit rock bottom. While others complain, this man decided to do something about it. Mike Steger is running for the U.S. House of Representatives in 2026. His campaign isn't just about politics. It's about restoring integrity, accountability, and truth in the time of chaos. He's also faced threats and intimidation for standing up for what he believes in. Yet he's still here, still standing, and still determined to serve. Mike Steger joins me now. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad
everyone's talking about your show, and it's really nice to be on.
Well, it's good to hear that everybody's talking about it. That's always a good thing. But Mike, let's start with the basics. What made you decide to step into the political arena and run for Congress at this moment in our nation's history?
Yeah, I appreciate that and the kind words generally. I think that the big question is the crisis in the country. President Trump has opened up the door to address long-standing problems. Wages for working class people in this country have been going down for decades. That's just the reality. Inflation's been going up. Blue-collar wages have not kept up. And there's a very clear reason. We took the manufacturing and industry out of the country. We had banking crisis. We printed a ton of money, and the bailouts and the Obama and Bernanke bailouts. And, of course, we went to war for these forever wars for decades, draining the treasures and blood of our country. And so you not only have a crisis now within just the blue-collar industry and production, but as this, as the incident you're referencing in terms of a death threat, you've got a younger generation that really is kind of compounded with all these problems. They're kind of walking into the world seeing that this nation just isn't functioning. And I think President Trump is beginning to address the core issues, not just the topical stuff, typical politician, but Trump's gotten at the core issues. And that just kind of inspires me to want to get in and help solve the problems.
Yeah. You've talked about restoring trust and accountability in government. How do you define leadership in Washington? And what would make your representation different from what the 11th District has now with, I think her name, Haley?
Yeah, Haley Stevens. Yeah. I think, it's kind of, I guess, a low bar to set for sure how to be better than Haley Stevens. But, right?
Yeah.
I think the main question is we're going to have people that kick against the pricks a little bit. You can't just go along to get along in Washington, D.C. We've seen that from President Trump. It doesn't mean you got to find collaboration and partnership there. But the question is, I think more political leaders. Charlie Kirk told Tucker Carlson this. He said, "Look, we got a younger generation that's just really panicked." And he said, if we don't solve this problem, if we don't address the crisis, the economic, cultural, social crisis that's been building up in this country from this kind of radical left agenda, then, Mamdani is just the beginning.
Oh, my goodness.
And yeah, right, exactly. And Charlie said, the guys in Washington, and Charlie had a big voice, big platform that's maybe the biggest, maybe in some sense. Mm-hmm. And he just said that the political leaders in Washington were just not quite in tune with that message. And I think I can say very clearly that, I'm going to go into Washington with the sense of what are the real problems that America, and especially this younger generation, which is our future. And there's a lot of brightness there, but we can also see it from the way this rhetoric and the left culture and the push for violence, there's a real crisis in that generation too.
Yeah. President Trump just had, I think, a successful Asian trip. When it comes to foreign policy, what role do you believe Michigan's manufacturing and energy sectors play in strengthening America's global competitiveness?
Man, John, I love your questions. These are great. I think that's the core question is we've got to rebuild that. I think it's Michigan, as it once said, where General Motors go, or what's good for General Motors is good for America. The point is that what's good for rebuilding Michigan's industry, rebuilding the power plants, expanding. I mean, I'm proposing, massive nuclear build out for Southeast Michigan. The Monroe plant could already add another reactor. We've got to rebuild our energy sector here. We've got to get ready to reindustrialize and rebuild. Trump's putting the tariffs in. He's got the capital investments coming in. Michigan's got to be ground zero for that reindustrialization. And if we take the lead in that, we're going to show the rest of the world how they can reindustrialize. And that's real American foreign policy, not forever wars, but forever building, forever future. Build a future. To me, that's what the American dream means, that, we have a chance to build a future here. And that's what we want to export.
Mike, I personally believe education is the great equalizer. And I want to see the destruction and the complete annihilation of the Department of Education and have it returned back to the states. Education, it continues to be a hot issue, especially in suburban Michigan. How would you like to see parental involvement strengthened and curriculum transparency improved? If there was a vote to come up to dismantle the Department of Education, where would you side?
I would side. Yeah, I don't see any purpose for any kind of ideological control from federal government on education. I think parents, local participants have the best sense of how they should be educating their children. We've got to protect parental rights in Michigan. This question of sex education, parental rights are just key. Parents have to have a sense that they're able to raise their children with a certain quality of values and direction. That's just part of the freedom of America. I mean, taking that away is just unacceptable. And I think we all know it. We've got a literacy problem here in Michigan. And I think for too long we've just been pushing STEM. And the reality is that it's a question of thinking, of independent thought, and that comes from reading.
Yeah.
And if Mississippi can do it, we can do it. And I would just give two examples. Abraham Lincoln had a second grade education, and he became one of the leading towers of history as a president of the United States and just as a man of character. The other one is Frederick Douglass, the man who freed himself from slavery.
Yep.
But he taught himself to read because he recognized that was the true freedom of the human mind. I think we've got to bring that kind of commitment back to our discussion of how we're educating children and the kind of culture we want to instill them with.
Yeah. I think the greatest thing that came out of the woke agenda is that people do understand what pronouns are now. I think that's the only thing that was good about it. But, Mike, you've experienced something that I believe, when you think about what happened to Charlie Kirk, the assassination, when you think about the assassination attempt on President Trump, and when you think about what happened in Minnesota and other elected officials who faced this, I'm going to be having Representative Regas on right after you. You've experienced something that no candidate should ever have to face: actual death threats while on the campaign trail. How did that, talk to us and explain to us, how did that moment unfold, and how did it affect you personally and your family?
Yeah, I really appreciate the questions. Let me just say, because I don't want to take away from what Representative Regas has faced. I mean, real people at your doorstep. That's a different level of threat. Obviously, what's happened to the people in Minnesota, or the assassination attempts on Donald Trump, and then, of course, Charlie Kirk. I mean, this is real stuff. So nothing that happened to me compares to those incidents at all. But it's expressive of the kind of culture we're living in. So I was at Oakland University a few weeks ago. Really kind of outstanding day. I've been at all four of the big campuses: Wayne State, University of Michigan, Michigan State, and then Oakland. And Oakland's the one campus in the district, but engaging with young people is just a phenomenal thing because these kids' minds are moving. Yeah. I mean, Trump has kind of opened up political discourse. Right, whatever side you're on, these kids are engaging. And the day on campus was just phenomenal. We had like 10 or 12 students at the table, just kind of almost like firing squad-like scenario, but for hours at a time. Like 3 or 4 different sessions of like 2 hours with kids at the table, just asking questions, wanting to know how to approach certain problems, how do I think about certain things. And apparently there's a young lady, freshman, sitting in the student center watching the whole thing go down, and obviously just got so irritated by the end of the day, she decides to take a picture and issue a death threat and then post it on the the OU Instagram board, basically saying, people have probably seen the photo, but what she wrote on it was a picture of my friend and I talking to a gentleman from the campus. Oh. And she said, with two arrows pointing at my friend and I, can we execute these two things? And, so the reality is you get that photo. So at the end of the day, all of a sudden, a friend of mine who's a college student there sent me the photo. And my friend and I looked at each other and we're like, at that moment, we didn't know anything about it. And we're like, dude, there were some interesting other tables and groups, things that just didn't always seem totally, you just, all of a sudden your brain's going through the whole day wondering, well, what was really going on? Who took this picture?
Wow.
Is there a network? You just don't know.
You don't know.
That's how.
And you have to believe these, Mike. You have to, Mike Steger, who's if you're just joining the show, we're talking to Mike Steger. He's running for the 11th Congressional seat. You just don't know. You have to take this stuff seriously. Believe them when they say this now, and because of this growing hostility. Here's a question for you. I mean, you said you were on a college campus. What would you say to a young conservative or anybody that's thinking about stepping into public life who now fear doing so because of personal risk? Because I think that was one of the messages that was trying to be sent with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Shut the hell up.
No, you're right. You're right. That's exactly the message. And I think we've seen it. We saw it from, the J.D. Vance rally a couple nights ago. I think these kids are responding with a real sense of courage and boldness. And I think for all of us, I think we have to look at how do we step into the arena, because, life's just a bit of a dangerous thing, and it's just gotten more dangerous. But I think we all know this country's worth it.
Yeah.
And the principles of our country and the principles of our civilization are worth it. This is really the Christian message. And I think we just got to continue to get out there and engage, because dialogue is the only way out of this problem. It's not retreating. It's not wanting just to kind of climb into your echo chamber, but it's the courage to get out there and discuss these ideas and the principles we hold dear.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak to the voters, but I want to do some. I want to do what a lightning round with you real quick, because I think I want to get you in a little bit of trouble, especially as it relates to these next questions.
I like it.
Favorite Michigan sports team?
Lions all the way.
MSU, UM. Which one? I'm
going MSU I'm going MSU all the
way. What's one misconception about you that you wish people understood better?
One thing that they wish they understood better.
Misconception, yeah.
Misconception. Well, I don't know what misconceptions people have, but I'll figure if anything, it's that I believe Donald Trump is really a person that can heal the country, and I believe his economic policies of tariffs and rebuilding manufacturing are the best way to heal the country.
First job you ever had?
First job was working in my dad's little factory doing fasteners on folders.
One word to describe your leadership style?
Bold and open to debate and dialogue.
Wow, that's pretty good. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Stay humble and keep going on.
You know, the reason why I do this is because so many times in politics, we never humanize the person. We never get to know who the person is, because the campaigns are going to beat each other up. But these type of questions, in my opinion, as somebody who has been in office, it humanizes you, so people can say, wait a minute, he's not some grumpy, voting for the rich. He only cares about the rich because he's a Republican. So that's why I do this. If you could have dinner with one historical American figure, who would it be and why?
Just one, huh?
Just one. Only one.
Probably Benjamin Franklin, because that guy would just be a hoot, man. Just what a figure. Towering scientific genius, humorist, and a key figure in the revolution. So
I'm going to tell President. Sure. I'm going to send this to President Trump and make it and tell him you didn't say him.
Well, you only said one, but if there was two, it'd be Trump, and then All
right, here's the grand finale of finales. Favorite place in Michigan's 11th District to unwind or connect with voters?
Probably. Well, a specific restaurant?
Doesn't matter. You tell me. You tell me your favorite place.
Well, the place I've been going to and having a great time is Shorty's up in Waterford. Great people, down to earth, great food, and really good patriots out there.
Yeah, I was out in Waterford with Vance and a couple of people, and that's a nice area. I love that area. I really do. Now, here's your opportunity. Mike Steger, running for the 11th Congressional District. I want you to speak directly to the voters as to why Mike Steger should represent them in D.C. Go.
We've got the biggest crisis our nation's ever seen, maybe. We see it in the economic questions that Trump's been trying to solve. But the bigger question is the cultural divide in the country. And we've got to have people that have a sense that it's going to, by building a future together, by building it, by unleashing the productive talents of all of our people and bringing out the best of us. Like, you guys will be discussing it, I'm sure, today, the 40 million SNAP. And we've got too many people, still needing government assistance to get by every day.
Yeah.
The best way to bring this country together is to begin to solve that problem and give people the opportunity and chance to not just work a job, to have a thought and even to have a steady job, but to have a sense that they're participating in building the greatest country that's ever existed, building the power plants, the bridges, the infrastructure, the factories, the industry, and the things that we need and consume and enjoy every day, that we're building a civilization in this country, and we're at the pinnacle of what civilization can achieve. I think that's what I want to bring back to Southeast Michigan. Henry Ford, a century ago, launched the mass production of automobiles and put the world on wheels. I think Detroit and Michigan and the fiber and character of the people here have that in their bones and in their blood. And I think it's time we get back to that kind of spirit. The auto industry wasn't just the auto industry. It was the build anything industry. Chrysler built the Saturn V rocket. Ford had aerospace. We built the arsenal of democracy in World War II. It's time to get back to that kind of mobilization, that kind of historical significance, and pull our country out of this kind of swamp we've been in for too long and get back to, making America great and beautiful again.
Wow. Well said, sir. Where can people follow you? They want to get involved in your campaign, learn more about you. Where can they find that information?
Yeah, appreciate that. People should go to StegerForCongress.com. Of course, donate, sign up to get involved, and then follow me on X at StegerMG or at any other social media, StegerMG.
How are you friends with Vance Patrick? You're too smart. You're so much smarter than him. How are you friends with him?
Oh, Vance is a great guy, man. I love Vance.
So do I, man. Mike Steger, running for 11th Congressional District. Thank you so much for joining us on Detroit's Morning Answer.
Appreciate it a lot, John. You have a great day.
Hey, you as well. Detroit's Morning Answer. Welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. Remember when I told you yesterday at the end of the show that I would play this audio today? Remember the movie Outbreak, Eazy-E? Well, we may have another outbreak on our hands.
Breaking news, a monkey-carrying truck has just crashed in Mississippi and all the monkeys scattered. According to authorities, the rhesus monkeys were on their way to a testing facility in Florida after being at Tulane University and require PPE just to handle, personal protective equipment. The monkeys were about 40 pounds each and were reported to have been aggressive as well. They are also carrying the hepatitis C, herpes, and COVID viruses. Locals have been warned to stay away from the animals, and they are extremely aggressive towards humans. In an update, authorities say all but one of the escaped monkeys have now been caught and destroyed, meaning they had to kill them.
That's all. Hey, that's all it takes is one. They're going to lock us down. They're going to put us back in chains again, like they did in the last 4 years, but we will not allow it to happen. And it's in Mississippi. State Representative Angela Rigas coming up next. We got to protect our people. We got to protect people like patriots like Representative Rigas. You're listening to Detroit's Morning Answer. We'll be right back.